especially the cruder they are, like this one. It's probably about 200 years old. And these were made in Europe specifically to trade with Indians in the upper Midwest. One of my favorite things about being a history professor is teaching my students how to find history. And the way that I frequently try to describe it to them is that it's like you're going to archives and reading books trying to find the pieces of a puzzle, but you don't know what the puzzle looks like. And you're the one who has to put it together without the box to tell you what it looks like. I can almost tell you the week that my disease started. I was in college. I started sweating for no reason. Had to change my t-shirt 2 or 3 times a day. And then I started getting headaches. And then 3 years later, after getting dizzy and having an MRI, they discovered the tumor. When I found out that I had a grape-sized tumor on my pea-sized pituitary, frankly, I felt like a freak. I just crawled in the bed, pulled the sheets over my head, and cried for a good day or 2 until I realized I can't just lie here and cry, I have to do something about it. So in consultation with my doctor, we scheduled surgery to have it removed. My endocrinologist and I had talked about the likelihood of my hormone levels rising again even after the surgery, and I had to be treated medically when the hormone levels did go back up. And eventually the tumor grew back, but we were able to change medical therapies, and that keeps everything in check, both suppressing the tumor and suppressing the hormones. This is why the cotton gin was so important in invigorating the American economy when it was invented in 1793. The monthly injection is actually quite painful. Frequently, the shot will leave a small lump under the skin that's very tender to the touch. I remember the first year I was taking it, sometimes I would roll over in bed and it would hurt so bad it would wake me up in tears. Sometimes I feel like living with acromegaly is like finding the pieces of a puzzle and having to put them together. Only about 5 or 10 years after I was diagnosed did I realize that symptom and that symptom and that symptom, wow, that all came from acromegaly. So I only figured out what the puzzle looked like well after I was diagnosed. But I realized that I needed to be an advocate for myself, for my own health care, particularly when I had to fight the insurance companies to cover the medications that I needed. I sought out the programs, I got the affidavits from the doctors, I worked hard to get the help that I needed, because if I didn't do it for myself, there was nobody to do it for me. I traveled a lot when I was in college, and that was easy. I didn't have any diseases, I didn't have any medications to take, I was quite a few pounds lighter. But traveling with acromegaly just means that I have to work a little bit harder at it. I have to work around my schedule. I maybe fill up the seatbelt on the airplane a little more, but I've flown to Australia, I've flown to Saudi Arabia, I've flown to South Africa. I've actually visited more countries and more continents since I was diagnosed with the tumor than I visited before I was diagnosed. The internet barely existed when I was diagnosed almost 20 years ago. Now resources are so widely available, you can go in and do research just about anywhere. Just as my students tend to go to Google to do their research for a paper, so can we patients go to the computer and find just about any piece of information we might need.